Okay, this is question 1. So I've got A, B, and C listed. The equation's already in standard form. So A is 1, B is negative 5, and C is negative 12. I'm going to work a little quickly so I can get through this, in not such a long video. Remember, you can always pause. You can go back, and a lot of players will allow you even to play it more slowly if you look at play speed somewhere. So anyway, so I've got negative b. So negative 5 is what b is equal to. And so it's going to be negative 5. Negative 5 is plus 5. So it's just going to be 5 plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac. So b squared negative 5 squared is going to be 25 minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12. So that's going to become plus, right? Because that's 4 times 1 times negative 12. So it's going to be 25 plus 48. Now, you don't have to do it by hand, though. Just showing you. All right? So here we go. 5 squared. Remember, if you put this in and you square it, the calculator gets negative 25 because that's the opposite of 5 squared. You would have to put it in parentheses. You can avoid that error just by putting in 5 squared. Whatever it is, this is an exception to a rule, but b squared, what goes here is always going to be a positive number, right? So minus 4 times a, which is 1. You don't have to put the 1 in, but if you want it to be complete, that's fine also. There's negative 12, and I get 73. So inside here I have 73, and that's all over 2a. So 2 times 1 is 2, and that's what x is going to be equal if I want to get 0. Right? And so now I can just go ahead and do all of that. You can do it in 1, or you can do it in more than 1. 5 plus the square root of 73. Close for the square root. Close for the division, right? That's this right here is a grouping symbol, so this has to be in parentheses. And then divide by 2. Enter. Okay, 6772. 6.772, and then now I'm just going to go back, hit second enter, and just go back and change that to a minus. And that'll be my other solution, negative 1772. Okay, so that's number 1. I want to maybe do a quick check of that. Okay, so I can take one of these. If I check one and it works, I probably can be pretty sure they both do. Right? Since I just calculated this one, I can store it in A to check. So store it in A, and then I can plug A into my equation, right? So I take A, square it, minus 5 times A minus 12, and I get 0. So that's, you can do that also, right? So number 2, A is equal to 1, B is equal to negative 6, and C is, oh, look, I've got to add 4 to both sides to get that equal to 0. So now I have x squared minus 6x plus 4 equals 0. If you don't have it set equal to 0, then the quadratic formula doesn't work, and now I can see that C is positive 4. So then I have negative b, positive 6, plus or minus, square root, b squared minus 4ac. This time let's just do it on the calculator. Okay, so b squared, that's going to be 36 minus 4 times a, which is 1 again, times c, which is 4. Hit enter. That's what I'm going to put inside my radical. All over 2a, all over 2. Okay, and so now I can go ahead and do that. Open parentheses 6 plus square root of 20, close, close, divide by 2, enter, and second enter, negative, and enter. I usually just do them both and then copy them onto my page. 5.236 and 0.764. Okay, if you put your rounded version in, to check, it's not going to equal exactly 0 if I use this number. But if I use the memory up here on the calculator, then it's going to work. So I'm going to just do the same thing. Store the answer in A, and it'll just replace what I had there before. Okay, and so now, same thing. A squared minus 6A, and that should equal negative 4. And it does, okay? I'm not going to do that every time for the sake of time, but now you can see how to do that, right? So there are my solutions. Okay. So now A is negative 1, B is negative 1, and C is positive 8. So now I have negative B, or 1 plus or minus square root of, okay, so B squared minus 4, well, that looks pretty easy. B squared is going to be 1 minus 4AC. 4A is negative 1, and C is 8. What's 4 times 8 is 32, right? So it's going to be plus 32 because it's a minus minus again. So that's 33. Do it on your calculator if you like. All over 2A. Be careful. That's negative. So it's a negative 2 now. Okay. So now parentheses 1 plus square root of 33. Close. Now, my calculator's a little older. This is like the old calculators. And remember, the new ones may look a little different. For example, when you finish a square root, you have to hit right arrow to get out. The new calculator has the bar over the top here. The older one doesn't. So it will look slightly differently depending on what you got. And second, enter. Negative. So negative 3.372. Or x equals 372. It's pretty common that you see the same end to the two numbers, 372, something like that, because you're adding and subtracting the same thing, right? And so we end up with a similar result. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4. Okay, numbers are just bigger, doesn't make it any harder. 16 negative for A, so B is 20 and C is 100. Okay, and so it's going to be negative B, negative 20, x equals negative 20 over the square, plus or minus the square root of, let's go ahead and calculate that, B squared, so that's 20 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 100, 6,800. And then 2A is going to be 2 times 32, which is negative, so that's going to, 2 times 16, I'm thinking ahead there too much, so that's negative 32. So numbers are bigger, but really it doesn't matter on the calculator. It's not going to make a difference. Parentheses, negative 20, right? Before we've had that as a positive number in the previous questions, plus square root of 6,800. Close, divide by negative 32. I always look carefully before I hit enter, because once I hit enter, I want to write it down and move on. Okay, so looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit enter. 1952 negative 1.952. I'm rounding the 3 places. Okay, and then get the second one. Okay, negative 3.202. Okay, so there you go. There are the solutions for that one, right? That's the end of the quadratic formula questions. So I'm going to stop here and just make a separate video for refactoring.